But for now, let me point out three things that will be looked at in the course. The first thing that I want to point out is the idea of tactical diversity. In Sudan, for instance, in 2019, during the revolution, they changed their tactics when repression became really high. Instead of meeting in public spaces like they had been, which made it easy for the regime to physically harm them, they started doing work stoppages and started staying home, and the economy ground to a halt. I'm not saying that specific tactic that you should
Yes.
do in China, but it's an example
Okay.
of tactical diversity. A second point is that we want to think about where people in society are. You can break down society by people who are supportive of the opposition and are actively supportive, right? Or people who are passively supportive. They support, but they're not doing anything to support it. The neutral people, the people who are supportive of the movement, but are not doing anything about it. They're passive. And then also the people who are supportive of the movement and are active, which would be those in the movement. And we want to think about how each segment of society needs to shift closer toward you. So we can break this down more, and it's easy when there's a visual. We can talk about it more in the future, but thinking about where each section of society is and what you can do to affect each one, to really target your actions and your campaigns to affect specific groups in society is a key element of successful struggles. The next thing we want to think about is the regime itself. Every regime is able to exist because of multiple things in society that support them, whether it is the military or religious institutions or educational institutions or economic institutions. Each of these things help the regime to stay in power. Now, for each of those categories, there are different layers. There's, for instance, if you think of educational institution, there's you can divide it by age group, you can divide it by professional training, and so then you can think, what can I do to target that sector, that pillar of support? And so we have to think about the various pillars that keep the regime in power. We have to look for the weakest one, and then we have to figure out ways to target it to make it even weaker so that it is not beneficial anymore for that to continue to support the regime. And so we piece by piece start to crumble away elements in society that support a regime.
Okay.
These are just principles that we can use to better understand our struggles, but it takes a lot of creative thought and analysis and planning to be able to apply them to develop effective campaigns in specific situations. I'll point out that it normally takes 3 to 5 years of planning and preparation and organizing for movements to become viable, to be successful, compelling movements. Nothing is a guarantee. We don't have blind optimism that things will just because. It takes careful planning, and it's very risky. But we do know from history, and we know from the data science, that when it comes to securing rights and freedom, this is our best option compared to when comparing it to violent struggle, or when comparing it to institutional avenues, or comparing it to diplomacy from other countries. It is always the power of the people, strategically organized, non-violently, that has more ability to shift and reshape society than any other factor. Your question is so important. It's maybe the most important question that I get asked. And so I'm very glad that you asked it. We've only just barely scratched the surface of it, but the course is going to directly engage with that question throughout. And so I do encourage you to sign up for the course so that you can have these important conversations. No, it's a good thing. A good thing. One reason why we do asynchronous courses is because technical stuff can be such an issue, and it allows people to connect and learn together despite the technical stuff.